We have studied successful people, and we found that the happiest among you are those who have sought and found how to serve.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's podcast, the Jeff Heilman Project. I'm Jessica Heilman and I'm sitting here with Jeff Heilman. On today's broadcast, on today's episode, we're going to talk about this moments in our lives when we make a shift that something absolutely has to change, like overnight. Like, for example, you found out you were allergic to seafood because you had an instantaneous reaction, and so you had to go to the emergency room. You had to get treated for your seafood allergy, and then from that point forward, no more. You were not allowed to eat seafood anymore. And I think all of us have gone through moments in our lives where it was just like, nope. Whether you're quitting smoking cold turkey, whether you've lost a job and you've had to overnight make a decision to move. Recently, and Jeff and I will talk about that in the beginning, we've had the opportunity to not so much have a health scare, but there's been like some more apparent reasons to have to make some life changes. And so I'd like to talk with you, the audience, through your comments and through your feedback, through Jeff right here on the podcast, about like those moments in time when we've had to make pretty much a go, no go decision regarding something and then burnt our ships and never went back. So Jeff, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Doing okay. Yeah, doing okay. Been trying to sleep, trying to rest quite a bit and get myself back to super healthy.
And what we're speaking in regards to, and maybe you follow Jeff on social media or myself, is that he was admitted into the hospital because he was having symptoms of vertigo, really just immediate dizziness, and has had vertigo in the past. And so we know vertigo is something that you know is often difficult to diagnose, can be very debilitating because of your equilibrium being off and things like that. But in the blessing of having this, overnight admittance into the hospital and having to run all of those tests, we're finding out, blood pressure normal, things are normal, a little high on the triglycerides and the diet. It kind of all pointed to stress management and nutrition and diet, which is why we're talking about, going from it was okay when we were 15, 16 in our 20s and in our 30s to make McDonald's one of our regular go-to meals to maybe we should now at 45, 46, getting into our 50s, make some different choices. So for today, we had ahi tuna salad, and
Today we're doing good.
Today was a good meal choice day.
All this week, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday has all been good.
Yeah, and I know from my own personal weight loss journey, which we've talked about here on the Jeff Heilman Project, and beginning in February and having the goal by the Paris trip to have lost, I think the goal was to have lost 50 pounds, but I got to about 40. It was pretty fun to be 10 pounds different from my 21-year-old daughter at the time that we went to Paris. That was great.
That's right.
But it didn't come, it came primarily through psychology of nutrition, psychology of why we eat the way we eat, recognizing and coming to terms with the body being a very integral part, the integral part to life and sustaining life and treating it well. And so how have you been doing? I mean, you pretty much just overnight went from being able to feel like a invincible person who can just eat whatever they want to eat, whenever they want to eat, however you want to eat, to now being very deliberate about what you eat, the times you eat, how many calories you eat. That's a huge paradigm shift. That's a huge shift, which is kind of what we're talking about. If you were to title this episode, I guess we could call it The Shift.
Taking your health, not taking your health for granted, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that, I've always been a runner. I've always been an athlete. Always exercised. I played professional golf at a professional level. I played collegiate tennis and high school football and track and field and basketball. So I'm not unfamiliar with working out or being in shape and
But
watching what you
we're
eat.
also of the generation to where, I mean, they like I remember them inventing Gatorade because they kept losing, because the electrolyte depletion, and they kept like losing athletes. So like this is, our generation is a complete different generation than the generation now, with the TB12 and the awareness of electrolytes, and like our athletes today seem to be next level superhuman in their ability to be nutritious, like following all of these regimes. Christopher, who was on our podcast several episodes ago,
way back when,
he himself, as a super performer in the area of health and nutrition, said that if it were up to him, he'd have his blood tested every 30 days just so that he could continue to maintain and be ahead of and in front of health related issues and the potential for anything in our bloodstream, whether it's vitamin deficiencies or cortisol or adrenal.
Yeah, and let's talk about, I want to bring a voice to people who are struggling with symptoms or have dealt with stroke, because the symptoms that I had, I did not have a stroke, for the record, for anybody that's listening, not even close. In fact, the CT scan pre and post contrast and the MRIs and everything basically said, if there's something wrong with my brain, it doesn't show up on one of those scans. But we were admitted because I was experiencing super nausea, super vertigo. So we have, as you do, as you grow and you get to know people over time and you become more successful and have a stronger network, you basically, if you got questions about a boat, there's somebody that that has a boat. If there's questions that you got about health, somebody knows a nurse or somebody who works as a PA or something. I mean, as your network gets bigger, you have people, specialists that you can call on off the record. And so we have a friend of ours that we called that's an RN, have been an RN for years, and we gave her the symptoms, and she said, you better get tested to make sure it wasn't a stroke. And so I just want to bring a voice. Stroke is known as one of the silent killers. And there's actually two windows of time. One is that if you're having a major stroke and you can identify that, the first hour of care really matters. There is permanent damage that people can take on if they don't get seen in the first few hours. So much so to where I was admitted, I think, at 4 hours and 45 minutes. And they basically said if it was a stroke, it would have been, you're not qualified. Because of the extra 45 minutes, you're not qualified to take a particular stroke drug. If you had a stroke, here's what we give you. So I want to make sure.
And, hold on just one second. I also want to make sure it's clear that we had waited for 4 hours, but they still treated you with as much of an importance as if it had happened right away.
Yeah, I was in the fast track lane at Disneyland in the ER, man.
Yeah, if anybody who's listening, if you at any point have a symptom that even 10 hours later that you think could still be lingering effects, go in and get seen, and they will see you right away.
I would just really encourage you.
Hopefully, as earlier the better.
Jessica and I had our normal conversations like all of you have with your partners and spouses, significant others, to where I really didn't want to go in. I didn't think it was anything. I know my body pretty well, and I said, I don't want to fight with you on this, and so I'll just say, if you want me to go in, I'll go in, but otherwise I'm not going. And she said to me, I really don't like it when you put me in that situation, which is exactly what I was doing, because I didn't want to go to the hospital in the first place. And so she said candidly that she didn't like it when I put her in that situation. And so I said, okay, fine, then we'll just go. We just make the decision, we'll go. And I did it mainly for her to help Jessica feel better, so that she didn't feel responsible if something was actually wrong and we didn't get treated. And so looking back at it, it wasn't anything, right? CT scan, negative. MRI, negative. Heart, super strong. Blood, super strong. Arteries, everything, the whole scan, the echocardiogram, everything, all the tests look good, except that I'm still really dizzy. And so I don't know why I'm still dizzy. We haven't found a reason for it yet. And I went through all their tests and they couldn't figure it out. And it's not like they're dizziness specialists. So you can't expect people at the county hospital to be great at everything, and I don't. But that said, if you're having stroke symptoms, go online. I'm not a doctor. Look at the stroke symptoms. They will tell you what they are. Go to WebMD. Go to your doctor. Go to people who know about those things. And if you are having stroke symptoms, there was 45 people in the waiting room at what, 4:30? No, it was 8:30.
It was 9 p.m. when
9 o'clock when I got admitted, and they literally fast tracked me past everybody in that waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
I was the last person in and the first person seen because I thought that there's a tiny baby stroke called a TIA, which is basically a small burst blood vessel in your brain, and I felt something in my head. I didn't know what it was, and that plus my symptoms, super dizziness, all that, we thought it could have been stroke, and they literally had me in a wheelchair and through the doors in seconds from the time that I came in. And I don't feel like I was crying wolf because
at that
I had
point,
the symptoms
you couldn't even walk into the ER room. So
I couldn't walk. I needed to lean on you.
It was the right call. It was the right call. And I would hope that after any point in marriage, if there's a a situation to where you have to lean on your spouse, like literally, that you would concede to go to see a specialist just to make sure that everything's okay, because sometimes here on this podcast we talk a lot about humanities and what's more human than being a human, and recognizing with those humanities comes being human, and being human means accepting help. Oftentimes it means needing help. It means requiring help
and letting people do their jobs.
And it allows the community to come together. If we can talk a little bit about this most recent episode, and what we're talking about right now is about helping and being able to help each other and help one another. In your current position, this was the first position that we've been able to talk about as far as the people that you work with, to where we felt like your coworkers were actually also rallying around you and there for you and wanting to support you. And so, I can't pretend to say why these types of things happen, but we do have an axiom that we refer to regularly, which says it's the work that draws people together. And in this case, even with health, when you're working towards getting healthy, when you're putting a team together for working out, when you're putting a team together for nutrition, when you're putting a team together for building a house, anytime you have an opportunity to grab people together and bring people together, that work that you're doing will create a community. It will create closeness. It will create authentic relationships. And so it's really easy to just say, oh, I got it, and retreat and be by yourself and try to do everything by yourself and want to live a life, especially as a super performer and an executive in the realm of corporate America, or in CEO even of your own business. But the reality is we're only as long-term, we're only going to be as successful as the community that we create surrounding us. And that community often comes together in moments like this, when either one person is down, or when we need to say that we're vulnerable and we need help. And you're going to really find out how that. So maybe you could speak a little bit to the way that the culture has shifted in your, now that you're becoming 50 and your peers are also in their 50s, and what is it? Are you seeing difference age range wise with the people? Like, I mean, when we were in our 20s and it was Glenn Ross in the sales room and everybody else is in their 20s. It seems to be, as an outsider myself looking into your situation, that there has been a shift in the relationships. Do you think that is simply because of position, because now you're dealing with other executives, or is it because everybody's in their 50s, or is it because of time? Like, these are just different times that we're living in?
I think that as you get close to 50, because I'm about a year away, I think you have a reverence for life that you just didn't have in your 20s. And you've also earned the right to be considered an adult, by your adult peers. And not saying you're not an adult if you're in your 20s or 30s, but there's just like a head nod thing. It's like everybody that's this age knows because they've lived long enough and they've seen things. They've seen things take people out. Divorce, alcoholism, car accidents. I've got friends that are amputees that I've known before they were amputees and after.
You've done a little living.
We've done some living, and so I think there's just a sobriety that comes with age that says that, like, any badass mofo chest beating, it happens, we get it, but it's not necessary. Just the fact that you survived, that you lived long enough, and things that can take people out didn't take you out. I mean, I think all the time about the Australian guy with the animals. What was his name?
Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin,
that's it.
Right? I mean, here's a guy who, like, looked in the face of death from animals
multiple times,
thousands of times. I mean, his whole life was about cheating death, and then he's going and doing something that, for the most part,
he'd probably done several times before.
Many times. He wasn't aggressive. He's basically among his animal friends. And, Stingray gets jumpy, jumps up, stabs him.
And specifically in the chest,
stabs
too.
Him in the heart
if it would have been
tail, and
if it would have been his arm or
he's got all
leg.
these people there. He's got medics. But he hits him in the one place that they can't save him. Total freak accident, and never made it to. I don't think he made it to 50. So I think that among my friends at work, we're all, it's not that we're slowing down, but we're just kind of calm, and we don't get as riled up about stuff. Even this particular incident, I felt like we stayed pretty calm through the whole thing. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't move very well, which was, I'm not, a friend of mine said to me, they're like, you're not used to being incapacitated very often. I'm like, no, not at all.
Well, and
any incapacitation that I've experienced, I usually did it to myself.
You're 6'5", 240. I can only do so much. So, but yeah, I think that you're right. I think that as time moves on, we are evaluated experiences. I love how John Maxwell says, sometimes age comes alone.
Sometimes age comes alone.
Hopefully we're learning. Hopefully we're becoming more empathetic and more understanding, and we're able to not internalize. And that's kind of the, if I were, with everything going on right now,
we've got a lot going on in our family
with
right now.
Your health, with my grandfather's health, with these things, is the word that just keeps coming back is internalizing, and not that it's just a word that I just keep coming back to about internalizing. Like, how are we internalizing? How are we processing those things that we're going through at the moment? How are we internalizing stress and holding on to it and keeping it? Are we processing it in a way that we can, pick, what's that saying? You chew up the chicken and you spit out the bones. Like, are we keeping those things that we need to learn from these experiences and then successfully getting rid of the things that we don't need to hold on to? And that's kind of seems to be the majority of the challenge right now in kind of the season that we're in is how are we processing the amount of what we're being asked, the things that we're being asked to do? How are we internalizing it negatively? Is it becoming polarizing, or is it actually becoming something that we're able to be thankful for and grateful for? I know that C.S. Lewis said, the sorrow we experience today is a direct relation to the joy that we had then. In other words, if we didn't have these moments of joy, if we didn't have a happy childhood with this person that's getting old and coming to the end of their days, then we wouldn't be sad now. We'd be celebrating, or we'd be happy, or we'd be indifferent. And so, how are we internalizing how are you adjusting, I guess it would be my question for this podcast and for anybody who's listening. Like, how are you adjusting to the reality that you're turning 50, that your grandparents are, coming to the end of their lives, that you're in a season, you've now been in your career as a seasoned career professional for 25 years. Like, how are you internalizing all of this, and are you finding yourself able to process it in a way that you're being able to be more grateful and thankful than agitated or disappointed? Hey everybody, this is Jessica. I'm so excited to offer to you this new service and this ability that you have to text in your questions, comments. Maybe you have some situations that you'd love for Jeff and Jessica to try to tackle along with you. You can text us now at 203-646-1472. Your phone carrier may have standard rates that apply, it being a text, but this is a free service from us to you in which we would like to participate with you in an ongoing conversation about how we can help and what we can possibly do for you. Looking forward to hearing from you soon.
I think that you and I have grown old together slowly. We're not old yet, but
No.
we've been together for almost 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be 28 years next summer. So we're within the 30-month mark of being 30 years together. I like being my age.
Yeah.
I like being where we're at.
It'd be great if you weren't so dizzy, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that'll go away within the next couple
Sure.
of weeks. I sure hope it does. I was perfect on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It was perfect. Friday was bad. Saturday I recovered. Sunday, Monday I was perfect, and then Tuesday started getting rough again. I think the freedom that comes from knowing that there's an end and that you're doing the best job you can to get through the day and to do what needs to be done. We have a lot of stuff going on right now. I've got a RFP at work that's one of the biggest deals we've seen as a company lately that I'm working on. I'm dealing with health issues. I'm having to lean on people. Just got promoted, and as a result, there's more visibility, more pressure. There's questions being asked about, why are we bringing in this group of guys, and why are we paying them as much as we're paying them, and what are they doing for us, and how are they making a good return on capital, and big deals. And then you got the holidays in town. Jeffrey came out kind of unexpectedly for a couple of days, and that was nice to have him in town. We got Grandpa. He's going through stuff. We got your parents. They're going through stuff and traveling up and trying to come see and take care of Grandpa. You were in Paris for 9 days. That was a ton of work and pressure on me to be able to handle that. And then, just the normal stress and pressure of dealing with every day and dealing with changing jobs. And, we're looking at savings accounts and retirement accounts and businesses and all the things that we're doing. And there's a lot. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of moving parts, and a lot of different contexts to look at. Planning and structure an organization, and planning and structure an organization, planning and structure an organization, and keep working away at building this life that we've designed for ourselves. And I think that just the fact that we can pay attention to something and hold on to our attention and hold it in a laser beam level focus on one thing until it's done is a miracle. And I'm grateful for the fact that we can pay attention to something and have it manifest into what we want it to be, whether it's health or making money or building a company or raising children or our lifestyle where we live. I mean, we spend probably more money than anybody I know at Starbucks and eating out and just fancy stuff. And seeing that we can do those things, seeing that we're living the life today that we dreamed when we were teenagers practically driving around the rich neighborhoods, looking at nice houses, looking at nice cars in our junky house, junky car. And
Yeah, I think there's that meme or there's that saying that's like, whatever you're living today is a result of the things that you dreamed about.
yeah, you're
Several
living
wean ago, you're living today.
whatever you were dreaming about last year
Yeah,
is showing up
exactly.
this year.
Exactly.
And
Because
that's,
you can't go, I mean,
I think about it. I played a role in a software company that was built and sold to Cisco 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. You know, when I was with the Musk brothers back in 95, that's coming up on almost 30 year and a half. That'll be 30 years since that experience in my career. And we're still going and pushing and driving and learning new things and learning how to.
Yeah, before I went out of town, and this is kind of a, if I would encourage anybody who's married or newly married listening to this podcast, this is something that we've always done ever since that we were first married to even now, as 50-year-old married couple for 30 years. By the time we're 50, we'll have been married for 30 years. But we before I went away to France for a week, we started again going and looking at open houses and really making sure that even in neighborhoods where we knew that we have, on paper, we've got no business going and looking, and in our
We were
area,
walking through a house that was
$11 million.
$11 million bucks up in
was
Atherton.
the most expensive one
2 weeks ago.
But just getting that picture in your eyes, and it doesn't cost anything to go to an open house. It doesn't cost you anything if you go on to Zillow and you start looking at, I would encourage you, I know it can be kind of depressing sometimes, but I would encourage you to go on to Zillow, to start looking at dreams, to maybe begin to dream again, kind of shake off those cobwebs of being just stuck in that same pattern of, this is what we can afford, this is what we can do, these are our limitations. I'm very, very aware of our limitations, so we're just going to stay here within these limitations, to potentially make a date day on a Sunday with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or fiance or whoever it is, your significant other, and go out and get a cup of coffee at Starbucks and go into a nice neighborhood and see listed on Zillow the houses that are open. They're all listed on Zillow. It'll say that open house hours, Saturday, Sunday, 2 to 4 is usually when the times are. And then see if you can go through these neighborhoods and just really look at another way of living. It's not saying that that's the only way of living or that's the way that you should be living. It's just really going into, and now most of these homes, especially the really nice ones, are staged. And so, it's not like it's not creepy like you're looking through somebody's personal effects. There's been a staging company that came in and made the house look beautiful. It's just like a tangible, in-person thing to do that really helps expand and ask you to look, are there areas where we could be dreaming bigger again? Are there areas where we could be going from making our job into a position at work, or turning a just mundane thing into a career? Or even if it might even spark, you might see something while you're out and you might remember a dream that you had to open up a candy shop. And you're like, oh, wow, maybe if I opened up that candy shop, I might be able to get a house like this someday or something. You never know where inspiration is going to come from, but more often than not, it does not come from doing the same thing that you've been doing for 20 years every single day. And so getting out there and doing new level experiences, like going and looking at open houses, or going and seeing commercial real estate because you have a dream one day of opening a cafe, and so you call a realtor and they take you through commercial properties. Doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything. But I guess my point is, it will cost you something in the long run if you don't go out and try to dream.
Yeah, we dreamed of having 7 kids. We dreamed of having 6 kids for 15 years. Cut out little pictures of kids and put them on the fridge, and we were constantly thinking about kids and family, and we wanted a little brother and a little sister for Andrew, and we ended up with a little brother and a little brother and a little sister for Andrew. So, and the family that we have today, the kids we're very present with them. We're in our kids' business all the time. We're constantly looking at What are they doing? What are they learning? What are they studying? What are they interested in? What are their extracurricular activities? Who are their friends? How can we do more stuff to be the mom and dad that we want to be so that we can create that sense of community for these guys? And that, the episode that we had this weekend, I wasn't afraid of dying. I didn't think that we were going to have any major health issue. I didn't experience fear. It was more just like tremendous discomfort and a curiosity as to, what is going on. And so when I did all the blood work and I found out that, my triglycerides are high, which is probably putting some pressure on the pancreas, which is probably putting pressure on the sugar, on the insulin production. But all the numbers weren't crazy off with regard to sugar. I'm not diabetic. But if your triglycerides push on the pancreas pushes on insulin production or insulin resistance, and your sugars are high or your adrenal glands just the complexities associated with the human body are vast. And the fact that all those systems all work with each other, and they have different levers and different things that you can see in the metadata of, okay, if everything's perfect and you're dizzy and your triglycerides are really high, which can be totally controlled by diet, that could be pushing into, troubled with the sugar and the pancreas, and how that relates to being dizzy and how it relates to long-term health, and how weight plays a role in that. I don't think it's any secret. I'm trying to lose weight, trying to cut back on the pounds. I'm down about 12 or 13 pounds from when I started, but I've still got 20 pounds to go. And I've never thought of myself as fat or overweight or obese, but I'm bigger than I should be, and I want to make the changes. So this was a good overall thing. It got plenty of blood work done, all my panels done. I know way more about what's going on in Jeff's blood than I ever cared to know before. And it's led to me going, okay, time to start putting my food into a computer and figuring out what I'm eating and how many calories I'm doing and how much walking I'm doing. So,
and I'd like to also add that this is not, most people, when they think about food and they think about people that are quote unquote unhealthy, I think that their immediate assumption is like, eating potato chips and cheeseburgers and all that, like just having poor diet. But the reality is there's a lot of unhealthy people who are unhealthy from the position of they just don't eat. Like they're not eating. Yeah. And not
I don't
eating.
look unhealthy.
No, you
That's
don't.
the thing.
You don't look unhealthy. And
I would not have known that my
triglycerides
were super high or that I needed to lose weight.
And you don't necessarily feel unhealthy.
No,
but I
felt
do
fine.
know that when you work, as you do, and as a lot of successful people who work often, you just don't eat, and you don't really think to eat, and so for me, I've never had that problem. I've never missed a meal. My body cues it's hunger time, but part of that I think has been from a conditioning aspect of being pregnant or nursing for 25 years, and just the importance when you go to the OBGYN. I mean, the whole thing about having a baby and being in America, and thankfully having as good of a healthcare system as we have, because of the most other countries and the loss of mother and child and childbirth, at least where we live in California as well. They hammer on, you need to go see your OBGYN once every 4 weeks and once every trimester or whatever it is, and then towards the end, you're seeing the doctor every single week until the baby is born. And then there's aftercare. And so there's so much. I've been under the magnifying glass from the healthcare profession for 25 years. And a big part of that, the common denominator through all of those years of being under the microscope, is nutrition. It is making sure that you're eating regularly. It is the importance of eating good foods and healthy foods and not skipping meals. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of women especially go to the default of, well, I'll just starve myself or I'll just not eat, without completely understanding that the body will hold
starvation
on to
is
that
not
fat.
the answer.
And it's not the answer. And it'll, immediately when I think of somebody who's starving, I'm thinking about the iron depletion and the weak muscles and the weak bones and just the frailty that comes from starving. The biggest thing that I have come to realize through going through my own weight loss journey this year is what a spiritual experience eating and nutrition is. And just as we're supposed to go for our spirits in rejuvenating in meditation and prayer and regularly and putting positive into our spirits and into our minds, when we return to food regularly and often, and that food is high quality and whole food and healthy for us, we're actually going to supporting our physical body as we support our mental body and our mental well-being. Our mental well-being and our mental toughness is in direct relation to the thoughts that we think on a regular basis, just as our bodies and our ability to function and to be healthy is in direct relation to what the type of foods and the nutrition. Let health be, thy food be thy medicine.
I'm taking food pretty seriously this for the last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting my food into a computer. I'm calculating how many grams of protein, whole grains. I'm
foods.
Cutting, I'm giving myself like one little thimble of eggnog because it's the holidays right now.
And it was even light eggnog,
It's
but
light
that's
eggnog,
okay.
and it's watered down with non-fat milk with lots of nutmeg and cloves on top. But I think just being grateful, understanding that we have an opportunity to live in a country where Charlie Munger just died. Can't believe that. I thought he was going to make it to 100. Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's business partner for years and years and years. He would have turned 100 in January. So he's really close. I think he was within 60 days of turning 100 of his 100th birthday. Wow. And I think about what an amazing life he had and what an amazing life Warren Buffett have had, basically living in their hometown that they were both born in Omaha, Nebraska. They've lived there for
1923, right? About
yeah,
1924.
He was born in January 1924.
Yeah.
And
That's
here we are,
amazing.
2020, almost 2024, 100 years later. He was worth $3 billion and helped Warren Buffett build Berkshire Hathaway's valuation is like $870 billion now. Who would have thought Berkshire Hathaway would become $1 trillion company? But it's on its way. It'll be $1 trillion company by the end of the decade, in my opinion. And to see that we can live. And the reason I bring that up, Warren Buffett was interviewed by Charlie Rose in December of last year. And here we got, basically one of the top 10 richest guys in the history of the universe at the end of his life. And he was born in 1930, and Rockefeller at that time was the richest guy in the history of the world. Probably still is. And he was alive when John D. Rockefeller was alive. John D. Rockefeller died when Warren Buffett was 7, I want to say. And he said that from everything that he could tell, a homeless person living in the United States of America today has a better quality of life than John D. Rockefeller had in 1937 the year that he died. Wow. Because they have access to electric grid that didn't exist. They have access to HD TVs in a phone that's free that they can watch in their homeless tent. Mm-hmm. They've got access to way better medical care today for free as part of just the homeless community that isn't able to pay for stuff than John D. Rockefeller had with all of his money prior to. And technology has advanced such a way. It's orders of magnitude better. So it's not to say the goal is to be homeless. The goal is to be grateful, to recognize that literally the worst off people in our society have access to more capital, more resources, more healthcare, more entertainment, more social networking, all of that stuff than the richest man in the history of the world had in Warren Buffett's lifetime. And we're not talking about 300 years since the bubonic plague. We're talking about one full cycle of centenarian or centurion, 100-year-old person, one 100-year-old person's lifetime. It's shifted from the richest guy in the history of the world to the homeless people that actually could live better than he could. So with Charlie Munger, that's the end of an era, man. That's a partnership like we haven't seen in probably since Rockefeller's days when he had his board for Standard Oil. And
again, I think that goes, like you were bringing up partnership, it goes to your community, right? It goes to your it's a testament to that no man is an island, and we shouldn't expect for ourselves to try to do all of these things on our own, especially as we get older and have become more and more responsible with more and more responsibilities. It's one thing to have little young kids and to, keep them from running out into the street. And it's a whole other thing to have children who are looking at who they're going to propose to, and are they going to get married, and all of these things.
What is their life going to look like?
What is their life going to look like? So I do think that I don't know, there was that prayer growing up when I was a kid about like, well, don't, make my back stronger. Don't take away my, Lord, don't take away my situation. Just make my back stronger so that I can be able to endure, because we definitely don't want to be running from situations, but we want to be running to the positive, and we want to be running to the reality that we are all, we've been given this amazing life, and our quality of life while we're still here is so important. But the biggest part of that quality of life is understanding how to handle stress, how to handle situations, how to be able to we talk about it often, have mental toughness, and being able to couple the mental toughness with now the physical awareness of what are we putting in our bodies, how are we eating, let thy food be thy medicine. And I would encourage anybody, I've said that so many times, take a shot every time she says encourage. I would hope that everybody who's listening is getting their regular physicals, is going as women, going to the OBGYN and getting your screening and doing all of those things that we don't necessarily want to do, but just as eager as we are to go and utilize those dental benefits every 6 months and get our teeth checked. And let's also get as eager in getting our regular physicals as we're coming to a certain age, and getting our screenings done, not out of fear because we think that, something's going to come upon us, but with the reality that healthy people, wealthy people get checked out, and they get checked out often, not because they are concerned and not from a position of fear, but from an awareness of, hey, if I'm deficient in B12, then all I need is a supplement. Hey, if I need to, watch my intake of a certain type of food, then and all I have to do is make an adjustment. Let's be preventative. Let's focus on preventative care and not be behind the 8 ball when that thing comes weighing down.
Yeah. I mean, get your tests, go for your walks, be grateful, take deep breaths, drink water. These things are, we're not physicians. We don't pretend to be. Talk to your doctor before you make any major changes. Last thing in the world I need is somebody suing me because I said drink water. But that said, there's nothing I would have done differently based on what I saw leading up to Saturday. I wouldn't have done anything different. Should I have eaten 42 tons of cheeseburgers and In-N-Out Burger and Five Guys? Live your life. I wanted to live my life. I was controlling my weight with portion control and thought that my weight was in good shape and thought I could eat whatever I wanted to eat. And I did. I ate whatever I wanted, and I feel great about it. And now I'm eating whatever the computer says I can eat, and I feel good about that. I'm grateful in all those scenarios. I don't wish that I didn't eat better. I'm not regretful for what we've done for the last 25, 30 years together. But I'm definitely making changes. And I've had oh my God, 10 tons of steak. I've had every kind of filet mignon, T-bone, lemon lime, lemon Homer, porterhouse, built for 2, built for 4, 72-ounce steak, free if you can eat it in an hour. I've had fillets all over the world. I've had Wagyu, all the different delineations there, every type of seafood you can imagine, every type of chicken, pork chop, tenderloin, veal, pan-fried foie gras. For those of you that don't like the foie gras, I've tried that. Every type of delicacy known to man, and none of that is interesting to me anymore. Now I just want to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be healthy. I want to work super hard. I want to make gazillions of dollars, take care of my family, and enjoy the years that I've got remaining in good health with a lot of energy, great muscle tone, muscle pliability, hydration, flexibility, peace of mind, great, super strong heart, super strong lungs, no issues related to circulation, no issues related to any. I want to just nail health because the benefits of it are pretty awesome when you get it going right.
I look at it like when you're pregnant, they encourage you to take supplements. They encourage you to take vitamins, multivitamins. And the way it was explained to me was,
for the baby.
Yeah, was that the baby is taking, if you have vitamins in your bloodstream, mom, if mom's got vitamins in mom's bloodstream, which she does, we all have a certain level of vitamins and minerals from our body. Baby gets those vitamins from mom and leaves mom basically with nothing left behind.
Mom gets nothing.
And so when we eat right, that fills us up, and then that gives, baby the vitamins. But because we're trying to support us and the baby, you need to often take supplements in order to give you that extra bit of vitamins and minerals into your body so that when the baby depletes it, mom's not left behind totally depleted. And so I know that when Jeff was going through this most recent episode, I looked at him and I said, okay, so this is the importance of you taking proper nutrition and potentially being put in an environment with supplements. You have 9 parasites. You have 9 people that are depleting you of everything that you have, and you're being left behind after, all of your children plus yourself plus me. I'm sure it actually equals out to more than 9 because of the people that are depending on you and the people that are needing things from you. And so if you do not begin to make sure that your food is making you strong, and then the supplements that you're taking in addition to the food that's making you strong, the food and all that stuff isn't for us. It's not feeding us. It's feeding you so that when you get sucked dry, you're actually left able to stand up. And so, it's not as if when you're pregnant and I take a vitamin A, that vitamin A goes from my mouth directly into baby. Vitamin A goes from my mouth into me, and then baby takes from me vitamin A. Well, Jeff, you have so much demanded on you that the nutrition that you take care of for yourself isn't going into us, it's going into you so that you can just handle all of the demands that are being placed upon you.
Yep. But
and so that's,
at the same time, it's the Bible says my people perish for their lack of knowledge, and he talks about perishing if you don't have a vision.
Yeah.
Right? Where there is no vision, the people perish. Another version says, for those who can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. And I feel like I've been able to see, for the most part, I've been able to see what God's doing in our lives in real time. And I've pressed into the word and prayer and meditation to be able to do that. And certainly there's been plenty of times where I was flying blind and I've made lots of mistakes, but God's doing something with our family. I can see a vision in my life. I've always had a vision of what we're doing, what we're building, where we're going, why we're doing what we're doing. And so it's a lot easier to discipline yourself to stay focused and pay attention and do the right things when you have a vision, because you don't want to compromise the vision by the lust of the flesh, the deceitfulness of riches, and the cares of this world. And worrying about money, cares of this world, deceitfulness of riches, If it was all about money and money becomes an idol, it says that those that have lusted after money have pierced themselves through with many sorrows. The lust of the flesh could be food, it could be sex, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be cigars. I got cigars up there I don't even smoke. And so all those things, we're all subject to that temptation if we don't have a vision in our life. But if we do, then taking care of the kids becomes an honor.
So where's your vision from moving forward from right here, right now? What are you visualizing coming out and going on? You got a birthday coming up in January. Yeah. You've got a vision for the future, I'm sure.
We've got to get our investments on track. That's the main thing, is I want to be able to put myself in a position where I don't have to work quite so hard. And in order to do that, we need more passive income coming in from assets.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about all the tests that were run, and praise God that they were all normal. Just about everything was normal. Everything was clear. Heart was strong. The Olga said, looks a little stressed. And I said,
how's my heart looking? She says, this gal from Russia, she goes, heart looks good, but a little stressed.
And I said, you don't need to have a machine to see that.
You don't need an ultrasound to see that.
Yeah, just a little bit, the pressure was just a little much, but coming out of that and coming through that.
We know what to do.
We know what to do, and we wouldn't know what to do if we hadn't been strong enough to face it head on. Yeah. And so please, everyone, anybody who's listening to this, whatever it is that you're challenged with.
Just know your body. Pay attention to your body.
Face it head on. Get help. Reach out to your community. If you're finding yourself lethargic or overweight to a point to where it's a problem and you're not, you're ready to make those changes, reach out to us. The numbers.
You can text us on this fancy text number if you want,
you can message us, you can hit us up on social media, you can give us an email at the Jeff Heilman Project at gmail.com. And let's keep the conversation going regarding about how can we encourage you? How can we help you become the best version of yourself moving forward? Because we're all looking at, we don't know how much time that we have left, but if you're around our age, if you're in our peership, let's pray that we got another 50 years left. We're in the second half. We're moving into the second half.
We've got a Facebook group too, don't we?
We do. We have
the Jeff Heilman Project Facebook group.
The Jeff Heilman group. The Jeff Heilman Project Facebook group.
If you look at the logo for this podcast on YouTube, you'll find that logo at the Jeff Heilman Project Facebook group, and reach out to us on Facebook, on the Facebook group.
Yeah, let's get the
community. Join the community and get people talking about entrepreneurship and art and humanities and how, really, entrepreneurship is the greatest system of economics the history of the world has ever seen. We need more entrepreneurs out there. I don't care if it's running a dog walking business that you set up online with Wix.
Hey, I think the Property Brothers started out by selling hangers on Etsy. So
selling hangers on Etsy, and now they're on television. You can build an income that can take care of yourself and your family and generations through entrepreneurship. There's a barrier of entry to it, but there's so much money available out there in the world to the people who will figure out, make plans, and figure out how to serve other people. Albert Schweitzer said, we have studied successful people, and we found that the happiest among you are those who have sought and found how to serve.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you next week and continuing to update you on the progress of that's who we are. We're all a work in project. A work in process is a work in project. And we will just keep you guys updated, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thanks, guys.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.